Hey guys, welcome back to I'm Just a Fan. It's your host Ben, and today we're going to be getting into a quick wildcard recap. Just kind of taking a little thing from each team, from each game, and kind of just going off of what I noticed. I know I'm a little late with my recap. I should have probably done this a lot sooner, but it is what it is. First game is going to be the Chargers versus the Texans. The Texans dismantled the Chargers 32-13 on Saturday. It was the first game. It was at 4:30, and this game did not go how I thought it was expecting to go. I had the Chargers winning this game. I thought that they were the better team overall. I thought that they had a better season overall, and I thought that they were going to get the job done. I just thought that Harbaugh had, switched up the culture a little bit in Los Angeles, and I really thought that things were going to be different, but things weren't different. And it was an interesting game to say the least. I felt like the Chargers controlled the first quarter, but the second that second quarter started, it's like everything just went Houston's way, and that was pretty much the game. So the main takeaways that I have from this game, and we'll start with the Chargers, just because they're the team that lost, and let's just kind of get into them because, it can potentially be more compelling depending on, who you ask. For me, obviously, and I think a majority of the country and people watching this game, it was Herbert's performance. Man, this guy at this point is going to have to start battling the allegations. He just is not really going to be able to get off these allegations until he wins a playoff game. And he did himself no favors on Saturday. He threw 4 interceptions, one of them being a pick six. Pretty sure another one could have been a pick six, but they got tackled or something like that. Overall, I mean, he just looked off. He did not look good. He was underthrowing balls, was trying to fit balls into tight gaps. Just an overall not good performance from Herbert, and that's something we haven't seen all year. This guy threw 3 picks going into Saturday's game. I mean, he literally threw more picks on Saturday than he threw the entire year. So just not what you want to see from him, because I think he seems to have a lot of the public backing, and it just sucks that he's kind of in that category right now where we have to wait an entire year pretty much to go see is this guy ready to be winning playoff games, and at least right now he's not. So kind of sucks to see that. But now when we get into Houston's part, I would say my biggest takeaway is that Texans defense is legit. Now, that's been the strength of their team all year. Obviously, if you've been paying attention, the offense has struggled. Stroud has taken maybe a step back a little bit. That offensive line has not played as good. And, of course, the injuries as well have just limited what they really want to do on that side of the ball. Losing Diggs and Dell is huge. So that's obviously going to happen, but that defense came to play. They worked a very good offensive line with the Chargers. They were creating constant pressure. I think Herbert maybe got sacked 4 to 5 times. Felt like he was constantly getting hit or was getting rushed, and I think that's probably what resulted in him throwing all the interceptions that he did. And, of course, getting 4 picks. I mean, you cannot understate that. I loved what I saw from Derrick Stingley. He's such a physical corner, and I forget who it was. It was their other corner. I think it's number 6 or number 4. I can't remember his name. Man, that guy was playing his ass off. He was hitting guys. I think he got a pick himself. Like, they just weren't messing around. So overall, I want to give congrats to Houston's defense specifically, because, man, did they play some phenomenal football. The next game was on Saturday as well. It was at night. Steelers played the Ravens. They went into Baltimore. And the score was 28-14. The Ravens won. And of course, let's start with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The main takeaway for me with the Pittsburgh Steelers is it's really just the fact that this team is just stuck in a loop. They're stuck in a loop. It's make the playoffs, get 10 wins, don't invest in the offense, absolutely shit the bed in the first round, and excuse me, and repeat. Like, it's just not ideal. It's not ideal. This team just feels like they're not going anywhere, and I don't really know what to make of Coach Tomlin. He's a very good coach, but at what point, does this guy maybe have a ceiling? Is he being carried by his Super Bowl appearance in 2010 and his Super Bowl win in 2008, because this guy has not won a playoff game, I think, in 9 or 10 years. And it's been 5 straight years of them going into the wild card and losing by over 2 touchdowns. That's not the Pittsburgh Steelers way. That's not what they do. So I think the Steelers really need to just overall regroup. I don't know if, moving on from Tomlin is the answer, but I think overall my main takeaway is just that I don't think I will ever fall for the Pittsburgh Steelers again, because they tricked me this year. They tricked me. I'm not a Pittsburgh Steelers believer, but they tricked me when they were 10-3. I thought that they had turned a page, and no, they did not turn a fucking page. So overall, my takeaway for the Steelers is just that this team is stuck in a loop. They need to invest in the offense. They're playing football like it's 2005. They need to move on to another philosophy, because right now it's just not working. My takeaway for Baltimore is that this team just looks really, really good, which I know is so basic, so boring, I guess, but it's just the truth. This team has been peaking at the right time, which they were, they were the 1 seed last year, but they're just peaking down the stretch. They've, I think, won 3 or 4, 5 straight games. I can't remember exactly what it is. Obviously, Derrick Henry, 186 for 2 touchdowns. Lamar did his thing as well, and this was all without Zay Flowers. That defense is really starting to play better. I think people are forgetting how bad that defense really was in the beginning of the season. So I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Baltimore. And yeah, just overall, my main takeaway is that this team looks like a Super Bowl contender. I don't know if I would say they're the best team in the AFC. That's something we'll discuss later in the week. But this team looks really good. They look really good, and they're clicking on all cylinders right now, and they look like a threat. All right, the first game on Sunday, Broncos went into Buffalo. They lost 31-7. So my takeaways for Denver is that, this team was led by a rookie and that they just weren't ready yet, and that's perfectly fine. This team, they overperformed all year. They really were down on cap space because they're still paying Russell Wilson, and they're doing this with a rookie quarterback, and it still worked out. I would say they had a great season. I wasn't expecting this much from Denver and Bo Nix, and he looks like a really good quarterback, and I'm really excited to see how he continues to develop, because this kid is a baller. He's a baller, and overall, yes, I know they didn't have a great performance on Sunday, but I just think that my main takeaway from that game is really just that, hey, look, they, no one expected them to win that game, but I still think that they had a great season overall, and there's a lot to build on, and there's a lot to be excited about in Denver. It sucks that they didn't win for their fans, but if you are a fan of the Broncos, you still have to be super excited about your future. So my takeaway for Buffalo is, this is who we expected them to be. This team's playing very good football. They're obviously the second seed in the AFC. They've been playing very good all year. And my main takeaway when it comes to just like the scheme and everything is, man, that offense really got the running game going. The 2-back tandem that they have with Davis and Cook, I really, really enjoy it. Cook is more that speedster. He can catch, and overall just a threat, a home run threat. And Davis is still the same, but he's a lot more of a bruiser. And I don't know. I love when running backs or running back rooms have a mix of, a bruiser and a speedster. Kind of changes up the tempo, changes up the pace of the offense. And I really like that from them. Also, of course, Josh Allen just does what Josh Allen does. This guy plays some of the best football in the NFL. That's another video I want to make this week, but we'll get into that another time. But he's overall just playing a great brand of football. It's what he does. And it's just kind of what I expected the Bills to do. Did I think they were going to beat him by that many points? No. But still, this is what we expected from Buffalo, and I'm excited to see them in the next round. All right, the next game on Sunday, this one I'm going to have a soft spot for. The Packers lost in Philadelphia 22-10. For context, I was at this game, so my analysis with it may not be the best just because I was sitting in the nosebleeds. I'm not watching the All-22 or even seeing the broadcast of it. Yes, I did watch the highlights back, but this is going to be a little biased here because I am an Eagles fan. So let's get into the Packers first because I got way more to say about the Eagles, to be honest. my takeaways from this game for the Packers is this season, unfortunately, just did not end in the best way. I think they lost 3 or 4 straight to end the season. Just not what you want to see. And specifically on the offense, I mean, you can't win playoff games when you turn the ball over 4 times. Yes, one of them was on a suspect fumble recovery call. But regardless, you can't fumble opening the freaking game on the road in Philly out of all places. And then second is you can't throw 3 picks and expect to win a football game. It's just not going to happen. Again, on the road as well. It's just not going to happen. It's just not. So I think Jordan Love needs to be better. He took a step back this year. I thought he still played all right, but he's not playing great football. We weren't seeing what we were seeing from him last year. And I think he's really got to improve on that next year because Green Bay is still a deadly team. They were top 5 in both the defense and offense this year. But again, it's just the inconsistencies. It's the lack of attention to detail, the turnovers, the stupid flags that they had at the end of the game as well. Ton of stuff that bit Green Bay in the ass, and that's really where they got to learn from it. So my takeaways for the Birds, I got a lot to say. Number 1. This defense is fucking phenomenal. This defense is phenomenal. This is the best Eagles defense I've ever seen in my life. This defense is better, in my opinion, than the 17 defense, and this defense is better than the 22 defense. The 22 defense had a better pass rush, but overall as a product, this is a better defense. And this defense, they just continue to limit what teams want to do, and they continue to keep the Eagles in the game. This game was low scoring. This game was at 16-10, but it felt like the Eagles were up by 2 touchdowns just because of how good this defense is. You had, again, 3 interceptions. Really could have been 4 or 5, to be honest, because Love had a couple that were dropped as well. I love the play that Slay made. I mean, that was insane body work on that play. Nolan Smith is just making plays, rushing the passer, doing his thing. I felt like the run defense did a very good job for Jacobs. Yes, he had that one crazy run, but overall, they kept him in check. Zach Bond, of course, this guy is just a fucking beast. How he's got to sign him, he's got to sign him. It's the first thing in the offseason, they got to sign this guy. He had another pick. And then, of course, my boy, Quintanamo Bay, he got his first pick of the year. Very, very happy for him. Glad I got to see that in person. Was so happy for him. He's been wanting to get a pick all year, and it was just really cool to see him finally get one and see how the team embraced him for that. So I love what I saw from this defense. They continue to keep the Eagles in this, and in my opinion, they're the best defense in the NFL. Now, my takeaways offensively were, I thought that the play calling just was not great, specifically on third down. They were really, really, really conservative. They still did their thing in the running game, and I liked how we started. But again, it was just on third down. They were really, really, really conservative. And I watched a little bit of Dan Orlovsky's film review. I mean, some of these schemes, or some of these plays that were being schemed up by Kellen Moore, it just wasn't Kellen Moore's best week calling plays, because some of these plays were just so There was no one getting open, a lot of lack of creativity, a lot of simple stuff. And it just wasn't it. I mean, I think going into the fourth quarter, or like some point in the third quarter, the Eagles had 29 yards passing. You can't win many football games like that. But yes, you have this run game and this defense to rely on. So things change, but Eagles got to be better this week. I think they will be better. Partly, I think this is also due to, Jalen's first game pretty much in almost a month. So I think he was a little rusty as well, but they got to call a better game, specifically in the passing game. And that's really all I got for the Eagles. So my takeaways from Commanders Bucks, I got a couple things to say about this game. First, this was the best game that we had all weekend. A lot of the games were kind of duds, but this was a really, really intriguing game all the way through. I'll start with the Bucks. I like that. Again, this is similar to Denver, but different. I felt like the Bucks, even though they lost in the first round, it was still a really good season for them. They fought their way back to win this division. They didn't let Atlanta do it. And you got to really see how much of a warrior Baker was this year. Yes, we've seen it in the past, but to see him battle back, specifically when Godwin and Evans were out, and him still make plays and kind of carry this team, like, that was some pretty impressive stuff. So I really liked what I saw from Baker this year, and also the Bucs. Realistically, they could have won this game. They could have won this game if Baker didn't have that fumble. So it was a tough one for Tampa, but I think if you are a Tampa fan, kind of just take this one on the chin. You're realistically going to be having this division on lock for the next couple of years as long as you keep this core intact, because the Saints are in cap hell. The Panthers still need way more, and Atlanta is still kind of a wild card because they can't win football games when it matters. So I think if you're a Tampa fan, you still have a lot to be happy about in the future, but it does suck to see that you guys went out like that. And then here we go, getting into Washington's takeaways. I mean, people know this all year, but I have to reiterate it again. This man, Jayden Daniels, is going to be a problem for the next 5 to 10 years. His poise is what shocked me the most. His poise to throw that touchdown to McLaurin in the fourth quarter. I think that was on fourth down as well. He just never looks like he's really rattled. He plays like a veteran. He's sneaky. He gets in there with the run a little bit. Has a great arm. This guy looks like a freaking veteran, and he's only in his first year of football or NFL football. So I really like what I see from Daniels. I didn't love because I'm not rooting for the Commanders, but I liked what I saw from the fight of the Commanders as well. I like that they were continuing to be aggressive all game, specifically with the play calling. I like that approach, and it was just a lot of heart from what I saw from the Commanders. And if you're a Washington fan, I mean, you got to be on cloud nine right now because this team is just playing a great brand of football, and that was your first playoff win in I think like 20 years or something. So good for Commies fans. Not rooting for you guys, but good for you. Last game, Vikings lose in Arizona to the Rams. That game was moved because of the fires, and rightfully so. They lose 27-9. Takeaways for the Vikings. I have a couple. Number one, that offensive line absolutely shit the bed the last 2 games. That offensive line could not block a thing to save their life. I swear to God, I think Darnold had maybe a second or two max, and that was it. Like they couldn't block, so they couldn't do their thing. Now getting on to Darnold, oh my God, man. Obviously, I know I was just shitting on the O-line for a little bit, but it's partly on him as well. Some of the decisions to just sit back there and take the pressure, he looked shook. He looked like he did not mentally recover from the Detroit game, and it looked like the moment just got too big, which sucks because he really bought me in this year. I mean, they went 14-3. He, I think, is probably going to get comeback player of the year. And it just, on a human level, it just sucks to see what happened to Sam because he probably lost himself a couple $1 million as well. I think he's still going to get signed, but I think he lost himself a couple $1 million just because people are going to remember the most important moments of the season, and his two most important moments of the season were losing that game in blowout fashion to Detroit, which then put them in the 5 seed, and then losing on the road in the first round when you just won 14-3. And if you had just won the week before, you would have had a bye as the 1 seed. Like, that's going to stick in people's minds. And one more takeaway I guess two. This is really just one, is coaching for the Vikings. I did not like what Kevin O'Connell was doing with the pass calling. A lot of deep routes, when you're going to get pressured that much, you can't do that. And KOC is one of the best play callers in the NFL, and I'm just shocked he didn't make the adjustments. Also, Brian Flores, his game plan in the first half was just not it. Constantly blitzing. Like this man Stafford doesn't have two of some of the best receivers in the NFL, and he's very good against the blitz. It was just a recipe for disaster for Minnesota. My takeaways for LA. I thought the offense looked pretty solid, but I didn't think they looked great. I thought they looked good in those first couple drives. They did their thing. They got the lead, and they capitalized on it. They didn't really have to do much in the second half, but why would they? They were just up by so many points, so who cares? But overall, I really liked what I saw from them offensively, at least in the first half. I liked what I saw from them. And, of course, you had to give shout-out to that defense. 9 sacks. It ties a record for the amount of sacks in a playoff game. That is insane. And that defense is so young, and to see them playing that well, just crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. So credit to them. And then just credit to the team, organization, the staff as a whole. They had limited practice because of the fires. They had to come out to Arizona. I'm sure a lot of these guys were worried about their houses or their family. And the fact that they still won this game in that fashion, technically on the road as well. I mean, you just had to give a lot of credit to the Rams. So credit to the Rams. And yeah, those are my takeaways for this weekend's games. Overall was an okay weekend for Wildcard, but I think this upcoming weekend will be a lot better. And I'm going to make a video about that and just give out some of my predictions and my thoughts on that. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. And if you've watched to this point of the video, I really appreciate it. And I will see you on the next one. Peace, guys.